Hey everybody, this is Grace. And I remember back when I was a student at university, I studied a lot about families, okay, family systems and all. And one of the things was, the different types of parenting styles. And I remember the way it was said in a way that was kind of, we had the textbook definitions, but also in a way that was kind of a more casual way of speaking. And I'll say the way I would have phrased it, from there, is like you have. I always have to worry about getting these two mixed up for some reason. Authoritarian, the kind that say it's their way or the highway, and because I said so, and this is the rules, and if you break them, I'm gonna beat you. That kind of mentality. Yeah, and I said that on purpose. That way, they're the ones chain of command, and they believe in corporal punishment and so on. Yeah, it's their way. Period. And they're not even. Well, they're usually not even gonna give any explanation for anything. It's just their way. Period. And they are the authority. Now then there's authoritative. Okay. And that one is more of a, are you sure you want to do that? Because if you do that, then here could be the consequences of your actions. You need to know what the consequences could be. And they explain what those consequences could be. Like, if you don't do your homework, okay, kids, you don't do your homework, you might have to repeat that class, you might have to repeat that grade in school, and you wouldn't be with your other friends in the same grade anymore. You would be behind them, and then whatever way it is, they go into detail of here, and it's not the way of manipulating the child to do it, it's to inform the child. You don't study, this is these are the consequences. These are the possible outcomes to what you're doing. Whatever it is, it doesn't have to be about studying. It could be about, anything. I usually don't talk about children, by the way. And I'm not giving any form of advice or anything, suggestions, nothing. It's gotten real busy behind me here. I'm sitting out in front of my house as usual, making a video, and as usual, no matter what time of day, it seems like it gets real busy. But anyway, then there's those two, authoritarian, authoritative, and then there's passive. And the passive one basically says, okay, if you want to do it, whatever you want to do. Or if there was one parent and it's quite often, I remember back then they said it's quite often, one parent is that, authoritarian, you do it my way or else. Or else is harsh. And then the other one has been basically beaten down so much. The passive one, that they don't want to, they can't say anything. They're used to it. Everything has a harsh consequence for them too. Okay, and I know I was just watching another one of those, what is it called? Call the Midwife shows yesterday, and it was about a woman. One of them was about a woman who went through something like that. I mean, I've known people who've been through that. I've been through that. Okay, not myself, but my parents were that way. Yeah, she was the passive one. He was the extremely aggressive one. Oh my gosh. It's busy over here. Okay, now where was I? I've seen many kind of mixtures in my lifetime, different people. Growing up, I mean, having friends, we'd see different parenting styles and all that. And dysfunctional families. Not every family. You know how some people, they want to excuse their own behavior, is what I found usually, is they're excusing their own behaviors. when they say, well, every family is dysfunctional. In my view, quite often, that's the dysfunctional person. That's the person who causes the dysfunction, or one of. And then, like I said, they're often trying to excuse their behaviors. Or just, some just want to be dismissive of it. Oh, that stuff doesn't exist. No, that's just, that's just that kind of thing. But I've seen some pretty bad ones too, where they're just, they're just bad people all around. What they teach their children, it's no surprise that the children, as adults, seem like they're, kind of like the old-fashioned term for it, psychopaths or sociopaths. They really don't care about anybody else. They look like they're walking through they don't look like anybody else. They don't think like other people. They don't behave like other people. They don't care about other people. And they walk around, some of them, just like are they even anybody in there? You know what I'm saying? I think I said all that wrong. Like I said, I keep getting distracted. No matter where I go, I'm going to be distracted. And, I could stare at a window, just sit here, but I was one that was raised to and taught to be aware of your environment. I hope everybody has been, to watch what's going on around you. So, nobody can sneak up on you. It's happened to me. So, even so, it happens to me. Somebody ran by my SUV instead of on the sidewalk. They ran across, next to me. I was making a video at the park, and they ran next to my car and scared the crap out of me. It was, whoa, kind of thing. So, anyway. But back to these about the parents and all. I mean, I've seen some pretty bad ones, even online. And that's a thing, when somebody, that I remember there was a family. I never had watched them, but I don't remember enough about it to talk about. I don't even know who it was. But over years, you hear people talk about this family or that family. And some people, they were raised with that, like I was raised, like I said, that kind of authoritarian dad, and some people, they seem to feel a need to be proud of it. I'm not at all. That somebody thinks that the way to win with a child is to be abusive toward them physically or mentally, anyway abusive. It's not just physical. And physical is not just physical abuse, okay? There's emotional abuse, psychological abuse, so many different types. The verbal stuff, oh my goodness. But some of them seem like they think they're proud of it. Says, well, I was spanked as a child and I turned out great, and I make sure I spank mine. Spare the rod, spoil the child. First off, that's not in the Bible. It is not. Nope. Nope. No. And when they refer to a rod in the Bible, it is what some would call a staff, also to guide their sheep. And it says you would not beat your sheep, because what good would they be then? So you're going to beat your children? Really? And don't say, oh, it's just spanking. You don't know how that feels to that child. You do not know how that feels. You don't know if it's too harsh at all. And what are you teaching them? That being the aggressive person, being the bully, is the way to win? But some people feel proud of it. I turned out great. No, you didn't. If you did, you wouldn't beat your child. Period. That's my view. Period. And like I said, I usually don't talk about children. And in any way. But period. That's it. But some people feel like they're proud of it. And believe me, I am not new to this planet. And my degrees are in psychology and sociology. I understand the various reasons. It's not just one, not black or white kind of thing. left or right, no, various reasons why people respond the way they do to that kind of abuse. Okay, seriously. Okay, you know, a lot of these thoughts are thoughts I've had since I was very young about these things, you know, this dysfunctional family. But some of it, and I mean, well, I've seen so many different types, and sometimes it amazes me, but not because I'm not new to this planet. But some people will see it totally different. Like you see a mother with their, say, young adult child, you know, young adult. Okay, it's an adult, but they're young, like early 20s, maybe even in their late teens, you know, 18, 19. They're adults here in the United States. And they speak to them very harsh way, very much authoritarian, yeah, I had it right. And that I am the boss and I say what it is and you will mind me no matter what. You don't ask me a question. It is because it is and I said so. That kind of thing. And they do that to their young adults. And I've seen, adults' children. I've seen those that will make fun of their child. They're jealous of their child. Adults, we're talking. You know, young adults being so jealous of them. And, you know, of course not saying they're jealous of them. And it's not the, I wish, this kind of thing, being jealous in the way that they wish they had the same thing. Or, I was raised, when I was young, we were taught one way of thinking of jealousy and envy. But then I read years later that in the Bible it was the opposite way. But we were taught the jealousy is, envy was wanting something somebody else had and not caring if they also had it. You know, like you liked somebody's car and then you go buy yourself one because you liked it. But all the while, if you couldn't get it, you were going, you were envious of it. And that you focused too much of your time on thinking about that you should have that too. Feeling of entitlement, really. And, why is it that person has it and I don't? Then there was jealousy, which was like, the example I remember was, somebody is dating somebody else, and then they say, I want that guy, say a woman's wanting, this man. That's the man I want. And they do everything they can to try to get that man away from that woman so they can have that man. You see what I'm saying? They want what the other person has and they don't want the other person to have it. That kind of thing. And like I said, I heard that it was the opposite way in the past. I'm saying the Bible, but it was the past also. And then somehow it got switched. A lot of things happen that way, like political parties. There's a history of it switching, going the opposite direction. So, both of them. And more than one. Anyway. As far as being jealous, it's like they are, when the parent, say a mom is of their daughter, and it was quite often because of their youth. They wish they were young again, and at this time, I've said we live, people my age, my age group, we lived in strange times because we had the before, the during, and the after. When technology was involved. Okay, before, during, after, and sometimes I say if we were just born a little bit later, then it would have been so much easier than having to go through all those changes and everything, and not having what eventually would become of whatever it was we were the ones at the beginning of, and when it was, very rough, and we're, still alive and still using it, but if it were back then, it would have been, life would have been easier, You see what I'm saying? But anyway, back to this, with the mom being jealous of the daughter and just making fun of the daughter, trying to humiliate the daughter, trying to cut the daughter down, laughing at her instead of with her, at her. And then eventually the adult child says, no, thank you. I want nothing to do with you anymore. And I'm saying, bravo, bravo. I know a lot of people who want to say that, we have to, no matter what, they're your parents, no matter what, they're your family. No, and then they talk about Christianity. Well, they fail to mention stuff like I constantly say, 2 Timothy 3. But overall, the Bible is not teaching you that, to turn the other cheek, but then don't keep coming back. You don't have to be around people who are going to abuse you. The Bible is not setting you up to continue to be abused. That turn the other cheek, then you know who that person is. You know what they are. You know that they're not going to change. You give them even a few seconds, however, to catch themselves, to not be responding out of something, this anger, this, sense of entitlement even, whatever it was not your fault. Somebody's going to hit you, it's not your fault. It's not. If somebody raises their hand to you, it's not your fault. I mean, there would be very, very few. I mean, self-defense would be the only real, reason for somebody to hit you. It's self-defense. That's so they don't die, or get maimed or whatever. So, I know a lot of people think that you have to continue to sit there and let people abuse you. No, you can walk away. You can walk away. 2 Timothy 3. There's a good start. There are plenty other ones. Google it. Seriously, if you, need, ask your, well, I would say ask your clergy person, but sometimes some of them, they're not all clean. They're not all good. They're not. They're false prophets kind of thing out there teaching the wrong stuff. If they're teaching you to beat your child, really? Google it. Google what is, where did spare the rod, spoil the child come from? Google it. I mean, seriously. We're going right back around to that. And I can say that I've known people that there are people, various types in that kind of family, and if they have enough children, some of them walk away forever. I'm the one that walked away forever. Okay. It was bad. Never, thank you. Don't want to have to deal with any of you who are left alive. You're still alive. Oh, no, thank you. We don't have to be abused. And I'm telling you, my life has, I wouldn't know what would have happened if I hadn't, but I know what it was when it was there, when it was happening. And I was there, involved in all that, and it was horrible. And I walked away. It took quite a long while. I started off making videos about dysfunctional families and such. Well, actually, I started off with what I only knew, but then I made a channel about narcissistic behaviors and eventually added dysfunctional family systems. And it's not always just your family. It can be your spouse's family, your significant other, your roommates, whatever, a friend at work, your siblings, in-laws, not just the parents-in-law, sisters-in-laws. This thing. It could be anybody that you're close to and that you could see it, or not even close. You see, it can be anybody. And see how dysfunctional it is, and how I lost train of my thought going through all the different possibilities. And that's not all. You got to remember, some people are adopted. Some people were in foster care, foster system. So yeah, the different types of family styles. 2-parent, 1-parent, 3 generations, 4 generations in one house, so on and so forth. And not everybody in that same family could be dysfunctional. Each child, say the youngest ones, the children there, one of them could say, once they get an adult, nope, like I was saying. And some of them are still practically glorifying the abusive parent. That abusive parent could do no wrong. And let's put them up on a pedestal. Still, when that parent even passed away, no longer on this planet. And they'll do that. And the one that was the better one, the passive one, as if that passive one never even existed. And then they want to blame that. And then also the whole thing of people wanting to blame the parents for not, there is neglect, okay? But parents not preparing them for their adulthood, well, these days you can't. Really. You really can't. Not like they could in the past. Because technology, for one. All the quick changes. In my lifetime, like I said, I was there before, during, and now after. And then there's still some future. Who knows what it's going to lead to? I don't really want to know. It's like, it doesn't look good so far. How it just takes people away from communicating with one another or wanting to hear one another. The conversation needs to be less than 5 seconds or 7 seconds. You need to sum it all up in 7 seconds. Or you make a video, oh, you older people talk too much. I've heard that somewhere. Where was it? It wasn't directed toward me. It was older baby boomers and Gen X and baby boomers, y'all talk too much. That's a sad thing when people don't want to listen. Go to your doctors and they want to spend a minute or 2 maximum. They got too many other patients. Well, that's your problem, and don't make it mine. People don't want to hear. They don't want to listen. And I'm telling you, I am not perfect with this. I have noticed more and more recently that I want people. I listen to my own videos. I've been listening to some of them the first because I have so many on my phone I haven't put up. So they're short ones, real short, like 4 or 5 minutes. Some of them 2 minutes, not even 2 minutes. But I listen to myself and I'm like, come on, you could sum that up faster. And I annoy myself. And that's a shame. People don't want to take the time to communicate. So how was your parents going to raise you to know that people aren't going to want to hear you? How depressing. Believe me, I know. I was raised, I say, around a lot of people who are histrionic. Look at me, look at me, look at me types, Everything had to be about them, and some say narcissistic. No, they were histrionic. They were on a show, They wanted to be the center of attention, and they didn't care what kind it was, negative or positive. They wanted to be the center of it. And on stage. Anyway, I think I'm going to wrap this up.